Hi everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Hashira Half Hour. We are here with a new season of Demon Slayer, and this is the first brand new episode to everyone here, knowing that last time we had kind of already reviewed all the contents of the episode after seeing the film that came out a little while ago. Today's episode is brand new to all of us. We are exceptionally excited for Miss Hana because this is Giyu's Pain. Literally the name of the episode.
I was so excited for my second favorite character's pain.
I know. Anyway, we are back here, ready to bring you some more Demon Slayer content. I will be kind of your host today, although I'm sure Hannah's going to have a lot to say. So, on that note, here we are.
Actually, this episode was really fire. Like, I cannot believe that it made me feel for Giyu, because I was like, Giyu's there. Like, you know, like, Giyu's not, like, my favorite character, but he's also not, like, my least favorite character, but I was like, damn. I feel you, Giyu. You know, we both sad sometimes.
I did my waiting 12 years of it in Azkaban.
Oh.
Very good. Gary Oldman would be very proud.
That's it.
No, it was a really good episode. We love Giyu in this house, clearly. And it felt pretty well paced, although the contents of this episode only covered one chapter of the manga. I don't know, what did you guys think about the pacing?
Well, we knew they were going to slow it down, and we kind of already noticed that with the first episode, so the expectation of things slowing down majorly in this season has been very high, and I really like that they did this. I don't know if they've ever done only one chapter for an episode since the very first episode was just one chapter, so they're kind of going back to their roots. I feel like the first episode of the show was really, really good and set the tone, so I don't mind one chapter an episode.
Yeah, even though it was only one chapter, there was a lot in this chapter. And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like it was a longer chapter in general.
No, so this wasn't even actually like technically a chapter. It was the second half of 130 and the first half of 131. Just kind of filled in the empty space that they skipped over in the last episode. So it wasn't like exceptionally longer, but there was just a lot of added stuff that wasn't in the manga.
Which we appreciate, because every little bit of this episode had purpose and meaning, whether it been Tanjiro purposefully laying in Giyu's mansion alone, waiting for him to come back, or the soba noodle eating contest. Every little piece had something to show for, so I think that this episode was jam-packed with new content that was worth it.
Absolutely. And like most manga, Demon Slayer really benefits from being animated, so that we can see some of these little nuances in the characters, even in these episodes that are not super action-packed. So we'll get to that for sure, but we should probably start at the beginning, sequentially. So we open with Lady Tamayo, and with some body steps down the stairs, if you will.
Yeah, Yushiro literally said yeet down those stairs. Like,
Literally.
It was so funny. And then as we go into it, right, like, he's like, we need to leave, we need to pack up. And she's like, yeah, we're going to pack up, but this is going to be our last move. And I was like, shook, gasped. Even though I'm a manga reader, I was still like, oh yes, I forgot about that part. It was very interesting. I love that Lady Tamayo has like this calm demeanor about her, and even in like a moment where she's like understands that this is a huge move for her, and when she said that this is our last move, like, it didn't faze her at all. Like, it's just such like astuteness, and I think a resolute belief that like she's doing what's best for her and Yushido. So I thought that was really cool.
And to piggyback off of that, I think that some things that they added into this scene also kind of shows why I think she was so calm about this. And it is, so the entire conversation between her and Yushido was anime original. The manga ended with the crow flying away. And all of that Yushido comedic moment stuff, that was all anime original, which thank you for that. UFO table. It was, that really did a good job at like breaking the tension, for sure. But what they added, something very specific, which was her flashing back, and I won't go into detail of what it is because this flashback actually happens in like the final arc, and they moved it up but without information surrounding it, and you see her like in a forest with two other men, and one of them we know is the other swordsman that Tanjiro has been like this entire time with the earrings. But in this flashback, the sound design very specifically focused on the earring sound. So we were seeing that flashback where she saw that swordsman, and then she moved forward to seeing Tanjiro and Nezuko, and they very specifically made his earrings make sound. And I think what they're trying to show here is that Tamayo, since the moment she met them, has understood that there's something special about them just based off of his earrings. Because she has memories of those earrings too. And that's what they were like showing us just then. So it's really, really cool to see, and that just accounts for why she was so clear with saying, we're gonna help, because I think she's foreseen, along with Nezuko's blood changing and everything, that this was gonna happen soon.
Yeah, she had memories from the future too.
Da, 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 da.
No, seriously
All
though,
I
like,
know is pain.
but seriously though, how cool is it that she's watching the evolution of this like tide of changes? Like she even talked about it, like that small shift that we noticed so long ago has now changed into a major wave. Like for her to have seen that and now help to form this next change is just really cool.
Absolutely. And it leaves just enough for us to continue wondering exactly what's going on, but definitely curious to see how these two incredibly smart and intuitive women are gonna figure out some kind of way to get along. I'm looking forward to seeing that, because while we've never seen them together, as soon as they gave us this taste of like these two might be working together, it absolutely made sense to me.
Yeah.
Obviously there are some like just general prejudices that they're both gonna have to overcome about each other, but they're actually like extremely similar when you think about it.
Down to the eyes.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to seeing some more of that, but we're gonna move on because this is not Lady Tamayo's episode, this is Giyu's episode, so we're gonna get into that. So Kagaya chooses Tanjiro, of course, our sweet main boy, to be the one who needs to like have this talk with our emo favorite, of course. Why?
Because we know none of the Hashira are gonna help this situation. Just saying. I feel like even if he tried to tell them to help, they'd be like, Oyakata-sama. No. Like, I respect you wholeheartedly. He's gonna do his own thing. In all seriousness, though, I think Kagaya is very smart and he picks up on things very well in conversation, and I think he very obviously knows that Giyu does have a soft spot for Tanjiro and Nezuko, and we've seen that since the beginning of the show, and I think Kagaya sees that, so he believes that Tanjiro could get through to him in a way that like one of the other Hashira would never be able to, because Tanjiro also has a pure heart towards him and has that respect towards him that none of the other Hashira really have at this point. So I think that's probably why he chose him.
I mean, looking at it from the other perspective, could you imagine choosing one of the Hashira? And first off, which one are you gonna pick?
Sending Sanami.
Exactly.
But actually, can we all say which one we would pick if we had to?
Alright, if I had to, I'd be sending Shinobu. Hands down.
Do you think that would actually work out well, though?
She'd be like, Giyu-san.
Tomioka-san.
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 Are you okay?
Like, remember how that went for us in the spider fucking mountain?
Oh yeah, that's right.
It didn't go too
They
well.
almost killed each other.
She literally had a knife in his face.
What do you have? A knife! No! Alright, who are you picking?
We love that. Who am I picking? Honestly, I don't know why, but my mind immediately jumped to Gyome because I just feel like he would, like, actually just snap him in half to get, like, what he wanted. Even though technically that's Mitsuri's thing, I guess. Her flexibility training. But I feel like he'd be crying, but he'd, like, be like, this is for your own good. As I crush you between my massive hands.
I'd send Mitsuri because
Yeah.
she is the closest to Tanjiro, and I think
That's
she's
true.
probably the only Hashira that doesn't feel any like ill will towards him.
Yeah.
I was gonna say I don't think she'd be able to get through to him, but then in my mind's eye, I see her doing the exact same thing that Tanjiro did, and it worked. So that would have been probably the best option for a Hashira to send after him.
Send Rengoku.
It would have been Rengoku. Rengoku would have been the best option.
This is where I'd put Rengoku, if I had one.
Wait, let me grab you a donut.
Oh, no! No.
Wait. I got
No.
I got the goods.
Man.
Wait, there's none with a hole in it.
We'll just hold on to this for the rest
Well,
of the
there's a new Rengoku, so.
I got the goods for you.
All right. We're moving on. I'm done. We're done. We're done. So Tanjiro is going to be the one to speak with Giyu, and he has to think about what he's going to say, because as much as we love our sweet prince, he's not very good at this stuff. Granted, he has a tough audience. Nezuko hasn't really been speaking until recently, so he hasn't had a ton of practice, and so he needs to get a little bit with another human being that can speak. And we get a really cute anime original scene of Aoi and Tanjiro. I thought this was really cute.
Oh yeah, this was so sweet. I loved every bit of this. Like, the Onigi was super cute, and I thought that Aoi was like trying to help him the best she could, just because like she was like, well, if it was really me, I'd want to be left alone, but if you're really going after this, like, let me help you. And I think that was cool, because like it's finally her paying him back for the entertainment district when he was like, I'll go in your place. And so I think that this was a really sweet moment. I love that Aoi gets to contribute to the overall wave of change that's happening here.
Yeah, she's contributing, and I think this is good development for her too, even though it's very brief. I think, you know, we don't spend a lot of time with these side characters, especially as we get closer and closer to these looming battles, and to give her like just some time with our main character to even like offer advice to him, you know? And it, as we know, he's not very good at picking up on social cues. We've already known this because this is the boy that responded to F you with stripping down naked and jumping in. So he doesn't have the best track record. But he also seems like super smart in other ways, you know, and we know that he is. He's very, very smart within battles, and he's very sensitive to people's emotions, but that's more of his like sense of smell, I think. So it's good to see Aoi get the opportunity to even give him some advice. Does he listen to it?
Well, in our sweet, dense boy with one brain cell's defense, he didn't ask specifically, like, what he shouldn't do. Which brings us to the next point. He's like, this is all great advice, blah, blah, blah. Here I go. And Giyu, our emo boy, is alone in his quarters. And then we have Tanjiro make his entrance, and no exit in sight for many days. This dynamic and this silliness is honestly pretty ridiculous, given like the stakes of everything else that's going on. That being said, I'm absolutely here for it. But what were your first impressions of these scenes?
I want to put this scene right next to him taking down Hantengu and be like,
Same person.
Get you a man who can do both.
Because how? No, I mean, I've been looking forward to this since I read this in the manga, because you can get an idea when you read this kind of how silly Tanjiro is, but you don't feel all of that silliness until you see him hobbling around, like trying to keep up with his little crutch. Mm-hmm. And I have to say it, Hanai-san's voice acting was just on point. Giyu-san! Giyu-san! Konnichiwa! Just over and over and over again. I had me in stitches. I also like the added where he's like, I'm coming in, and Giyu's like, surely, he said, I'm leaving. And then the door slides open and Giyu's like, opens one eye, and he looks so confused. And then Tanjiro's like, hello!
He straight up what I said and what I still believe. He's like, Giyu was like all of our moms when we opened the door at 3 a.m. being like, I throwed up. He's like, the slight twitch.
Literally, he's like,
No, that was Shinobu this episode when her eyes twitched.
That's true.
That was just so funny. I love this dynamic because it's finally something like we've seen Giyu as just mainly this cold-hearted, like, kind of person so far, and we're starting to like get, this is the opening of what we get to see of who he really is. So I think that this like kind of constant nagging is fun for us to watch, just because it's like we know that there's like the dam about to break, and it's nice to kind of watch that we get to laugh at kind of what comes before that.
We have to. We have to have these moments to laugh. And it is really funny because I wouldn't say it's out of character for Tanjiro to be like this, but he's definitely being maybe more persistent than he would usually be after getting this advice from Aoi and taking it like a little bit further than maybe what Giyu's putting down.
Yeah, I think there's two reasons why he's being so persistent. One is that he read the letter that said, please be persistent. He's just like, all right. And two, I think he genuinely, like, even though he's gotten to know so many of the other Hashira and he looks up to them so much, I think I mentioned earlier, Tanjiro is like, or Giyu has a soft spot for Tanjiro. I think Tanjiro not necessarily has a soft spot for Giyu, but like genuinely looks up to him already because he was the one that saved them. Mm-hmm. So I think he's also just like, we're friends, right? Like he was with Genya. And both of them are just like,
no.
Who are you? What are you doing in my house? Twice?
Get out of my house. They literally, this is the SpongeBob Squidward relationship right now. He's like, hey Squidward. SpongeBob, can you keep it down? I'm trying to be boring.
That was really good.
Thank you. I'll be here all week. They're so goofy, but there is like a slight seriousness that is the undercurrent here in this dialogue, because ultimately, like, we're trying to get Giyu to be on board with the rest of the Hashira, right? And, like, help with the training. And Tanjiro especially wants to be trained by him because they go way back. They go back the furthest out of any of the Demon Slayer Corps, so it makes sense that he'd want to spend time with him. So Tanjiro keeps stalking him for several days before eventually Giyu reaches a breaking point as they're, like, standing out there on the bridge. And I think that they have a discussion first about, Tanjiro's like finally picking up on something. He's like, are you mad at me? Did I do something? And Giyu's like, actually, yes. Here's my list.
Oh no, not the list.
But the first thing he says is, he's like, I'm really disappointed that you didn't master water breathing. And Tanjiro's like, oh, well, I'm sorry about that, but I actually talked to Orokodaki, and he said it's not too uncommon for you to, like, make your own spin-off of things, which is why there are so many specialties now, even among the Hashira that presently exist. And Giyu's like, that's not what I'm talking about. And he's like, I wanted you to be the water Hashira. Tanjiro's like, what are you talking about? You're the water Hashira. And then this whole conversation unfolds.
I thought, when I first read this in the manga, I was, like, kind of gasped, just because... like, I didn't understand why at first, and so he's like, there is no water Hashira, and I'm like, okay, way to be dramatic. It's like, this is a little much.
It's been dramatic all seasons.
Right, and so he's letting us know that, like, he doesn't feel he really passed final selection, and there's just a lot behind why he doesn't feel he's like at the same footing as the other Hashira, and it's really sad to hear Giyu talk about these things, just because it's kind of like a comparison to real life when a lot of people don't feel that they're like up to snuff based off their experiences. So it's like a really like heart touching moment, just because you get to see someone in so much pain that kind of relates to a real world experience a lot.
All jokes aside, with him being super dramatic, I still wonder, like, why is it just now that he decides that he's not actually the water Hashira? Because he's been like doing his job. He's been slaying demons. He's been doing all this stuff. And I think it's just because he genuinely doesn't think that he'll be able to manifest this mark, obviously. I think he mentioned that. But yeah, it was an interesting scene because we're going back and forth between the like super silly, funny moments, and then like this did happen like earlier on where he just tells him like, I'm not the water Hashira, and Tanjiro is just like, what? Like, why? And then Giyu's just like, get out.
Classic emo.
Yeah. And then he stalks him, and then Giyu was like, is he gonna stalk me for my entire life? I should just talk to him. He finally decides. And in the manga, it explains that lasted 4 days. He stalked him like that for 4 days.
Eyes progressively getting more tired, like literally eye bags.
He was talking to him while he was sleeping. I was like, Tanjiro, come on. Like, give him a little bit of space so he can sleep, bathe, and go to the bathroom in peace.
He's like, absolutely not.
Bro, the scene where Tanjiro was bothering him in the bathtub, that was hilarious.
I need to go back and screenshot the bath. Giyu bath scene. Both of you.
Bonk.
Bonk. That's not what I meant. But
Go ahead. I'll be more than 5 years old.
But after all of like the stalking and stuff, you know, getting to see that the reason why he's not really just being dramatic. Like, it really does make sense why he would feel that way, and like Bryan said, is kind of realistic for us in real life. Like, if, you know, you were to, I don't even know how to relate exactly to that, but, you know, if you were to go to an exam and someone just did it for you, you didn't pass that exam, right? So...
I mean, it's imposter syndrome.
100%.
Yeah.
Which I think a lot of people feel nowadays. Like, it's hard to feel sometimes like your accomplishments are your own, especially if you've gotten a lot of help. And like, it's not wrong to get help though. Like, is it wrong to get help? No. Like, everyone needs it.
Well, and on that note, if like nobody was ever to accept any help and like get to the level that they're at, then Tanjiro shouldn't be where he is either, because Giyu is the first one that helped him.
And imagine if Sanemi was the one that was there.
Oh, yeah.
Like, they would have both been dead within seconds.
The end.
that was, yeah. No story.
Very short story. So...
One shot.
So, Giyu's not giving himself enough credit, for sure. Tanjiro gets pretty weepy hearing this backstory, because of course he does. He's our sweet boy. And he relates, I think, in this moment as well to Giyu's feelings of, like, not being enough, or, like that sense of imposter syndrome, and learning a little bit more about Final Selection and Sabito. And Tanjiro actually is probably the best person to have this conversation with him, and this is something Kagaya probably wouldn't have even known, that Tanjiro is, like, one of the only other people alive in this show that would have known anything about Sabito anyway, knows exactly who he's talking about, and also has, like, suffered immense loss. That is not unique to many characters in this show, but he breaks my heart once again, because he brings up Rengoku, who is so important to all of this story, even if his screen time was not very long, and, like, the impact that he's had in Tanjiro's, like, I felt in that moment that it should have been me instead, and I didn't understand why Rengoku had to be the one that passed away, so he gets weepy thinking about that, because Giyu is feeling something that's very similar in this moment.
This is such a big moment for Tanjiro, I think, and, you know, obviously this episode is very Giyu-centric, and this whole situation that's happening is really developing Giyu for the most part, but I think Tanjiro saying this, really, he has a lot of loss throughout this show that he never gets to really grieve over, because he's been told over and over again, even by Rengoku, that you have to just keep going. And all of that advice that he's gotten, which is funny because he even got that from Giyu at the very beginning. Giyu told him, like, to not just crumble and cry, but to use that as fire for revenge. And now he's kind of having to say the same thing to Giyu, because he's like, don't you want to use that gift that Sabito gave you? And it's clear that just by these few lines, Tanjiro has really been grappling with that ever since then. But it also showed Inosuke, and when he was saying, like, you know, Rengoku said that he believed in us, so we should keep moving forward. And I think that's just such a beautiful moment to see that Tanjiro has never been alone in this fight ever since he met them. And that he could have very much been in a situation where he let those thoughts overtake him after Mugen Train if Inosuke or Zenitsu hadn't been there for him. So it's, as a Tanjiro stan, obviously, like, that's not an easy pill to swallow, to sit here and watch him say something like that as a 15-year-old child, you know, and all the more reason that Kaguya made the right choice to send him, because he truly can relate to what Giyu's feeling, because Tanjiro could have turned into a Giyu if he had let it really get to him like Giyu has.
Looking at it though, right, so I don't think we actually have talked about yet, like, what happened, but Sabito was the only one who died during Giyu's final selection, and Giyu got knocked out within, like, the first couple hours just because he got attacked by a demon and passed out. And so that's why he doesn't feel as if he is actually passing final selection. That's why he asked the question, like, did I really do anything? Do I really belong in the Demon Slayer Corps? And kind of going back into it, like, he's now wearing half of Sabito's Haori, and so, like, he's somewhat carried on their legacy, but is he doing it to the fullest? And I think that's what Tanjiro is trying to, set ablaze in Giyu, is that, see, I got smart sometimes too. He's trying to set that ablaze in Giyu too, is that, like, those who we've lived for, or who have, like, taken the time and care for us, we have to carry on that legacy.
It's a really hard feeling to overcome, but Tanjiro actually is exactly the right person to snap him out of it for all the reasons that we have discussed already. And even though his approach has been ridiculous this entire time, he finally pulls out, like, the one nugget of wisdom that is enough to bring Giyu back to reality. And he says, like, don't you want to carry on the legacy that Sabito, like, entrusted to you, essentially? And he literally reacts like he just got slapped in the face again.
It brought back that memory.
Yeah.
Like, I think it brought back a physical memory.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, of getting hit like that. Just crazy.
And Giyu has this reaction, like, kind of quickly. Tanjiro's moment of clarity does not last very long, though. He's like, oh no. He's like, I said something wrong. In fact, it was the only thing he said right.
Literally.
And as Giyu's finally, like, getting ready to actually say something meaningful and serious, Tanjiro's like, how about a soba eating contest? And actually, what happened after this was extremely Aki and Denji coded. They're, like, kicking the shit out of the katana guy. Because Giyu actually goes for it. Which is not what you'd expect.
Yeah. Picture him saying, no? I'll go train with you. That's what he was about to say. That was what was so funny, too. It was like, first of all, the whiplash of that scene. Because it goes from Sabito, like, having his last little bit of flashback where he literally is, like, thinking about what it was like after he found out that he had passed but Sabito had died, protecting everyone, and he was, like, talking over it, saying, I don't want to remember, I didn't want to remember, because if I do remember, all I can do is cry. And it's, like, this really emotional moment that gets to me, because it's, like, the first time we're truly seeing the emotions of Giyu Tomioka. And then it's, like, this really sad scene, and the moment it pans to Tanjiro, he's got this, like, silly face, he's like, yabai. And then, Giyu's been enlightened, as most of these characters are. As soon as Tanjiro says something, he's very, very stupid, he's very, very silly, but he is sensitive to human emotions, and that's why he can say things profoundly, in my opinion. And so, but also he relates, because he is really silly, but he also is extremely traumatized. But as I go on a tangent, but they're having this powerful moment. Giyu's like, Tanjiro, I get it, I'll go train. Do you want to have a soba eating contest with me? He literally interrupts him in the middle of saying he'll go train with him, which is the whole point of why he's been there.
But Giyu's like, yeah, I'm game.
He's like, why? But okay. And then they go and
they finally have their soup.
And then they're just talking afterwards. Like, the start of the big brother, little brother arc.
We love to see it.
Also, shout out to Sabito's voice actor, who is also Eren Yeager.
Yuki Kaji.
Eren Yeager.
Also, okay, just, like, kind of skipping ahead, when they showed the moment in the ending where they were looking up at a tree, and Eren Yeager's been in the episode, there's gonna be some Titans around here. Listen, let me live my fantasy, okay? Kind of going on a tangent. You know what? They need to bring back the crossovers, okay?
Can you imagine Titans with blood demon arcs?
Exactly, okay? Disney Channel had those crossovers, so did Nickelodeon, where you saw Hannah Montana, Zack and Cody, and Miley Cyrus all in the same episode. Well, damn it, I want that for anime, okay?
That would be pretty lit, actually. But actually, pretty much everyone in Attack on Titan would probably make decent Demon Slayers, because they've already got, like, their breathing styles down.
All the Demon Slayers would be decent at slaying Titans, I think.
Yeah.
I've seen skits of, like, if these characters met and everyone's, like, they're, like, comparing, like, wait, Are your monsters like super, super huge? What? No. Then what's hard about it? Well, they use magic. Oh, they use magic? Do yours use magic? No. But they're really big. How fast do they move? Oh, they're pretty slow. Ours move at the speed of light. And it's just like a back and forth. I would love to see them go up against each other. See who could get the most kills on the other side.
That'd be fun.
Anyway.
Oh,
tangent.
alas. On that note, this is most of what we get of Tanjiro and Giyu for the time being. We're going to leave them to their soba eating contest in peace.
They deserve
I don't know how they're tallying that contest. I would like to know for the future.
They were both eting at the exact same pace, too. Like, literally.
Twins. Yeah, it wasn't much of a contest. It kind of just seemed like they were chilling.
It's cute.
But then we cut back to Shinobu, who we've talked about a little bit in this episode, and Kanao. And we get, like, kind of a melancholy, but kind of a sweet scene between them, where Kanao is, like, asking where in the lineup is your training going to fall in this Hashira training, and Shinobu explains, I actually won't be able to participate this time around. And we as the audience know why that's happening, but she has to explain to Kanao in this moment.
Yeah, and I think this is kind of sad, because you look at it and, like, every Hashira has something to bring to the table, and I think Shinobu is, like, quite literally float like a butterfly, and she does sting like a bee. And so I think it's kind of sad that our Demon Slayers don't get to participate in something that she could bring to the table as, like, a grace and beauty to slaying demons. But I know that she has a more important job to do here with Lady Tamayo. Also very sad that Kanao is, like, deeply moved by this, and that also she is, you know, finally voicing her opinions, as Shinobu said, is like, you're finally candidly expressing yourself, which is what's important here.
You know who did that?
Tanjiro. Because he's like, I was waiting and I was going to flip the coin until you said yes anyways.
All he got to do.
Mr. Romance, Mr. Worldwide.
He got rizzed. He literally rizzed 2 girls in one episode without even trying. Anyway, we obviously as an audience know why Shinobu's not doing it is because she's taking on a very important job to partner up with Tamayo. I want to just mention that Kanao mentions to her that she's already going to the Wind Hashira's training, and he's like number 5.
Mm-hmm.
And this is, I'm fairly certain, while Tanjiro, like, this conversation is happening while Tanjiro's, like, stalking Giyu. Like, he hasn't even started yet.
Yeah.
And she's already Chisanami. Like, we haven't gotten to see her fight yet in the anime.
Mm-hmm.
But we're going to see it. And I'm really, really excited about it. Outside of it, this was just a really sweet scene. I liked how it made more sense to me, because when I read this in the manga, I didn't understand, like, and I still don't really know what Shinobu is truly angry about, but I do have a good idea, but it's kind of spoilery, so I won't say it. But in the anime, like, you can see that she's, like, still twitching and she's, like, really struggling. In the manga, it seemed like as soon as she was, like, she kind of, like, said something to her sister that it was like, okay, she's all good. But she wasn't, and she wasn't until Kanao showed up, and Kanao kind of brought that, like, calmness to her. Because she cares about her sisters.
Yeah. Very sweet. We're gonna have to wait to find out more, though, but Shinobu's gonna kick some ass, and we don't know exactly how, but I'm excited to see. And Kanao's already kicking ass if she's, like, working her way through these Hashira like it's nobody's business, and that is on women Hashira. So, we love to see it.
Because women should not be in the kitchen, but in the field.
Unless you're Mitsuri, in which case you're doing both. In there eating.
In there eating.
So, then we get our Taisho era secret with Giyu smiling.
He barely smiles, but what he's smiling about is so cute, because he's literally telling Tanjiro he wants to go get lunch with him. And then he's like, but we're not having a contest this time. And he's smiling about it, and I'm just like, ah! That's it.
Very sweet.
Actually, even as a manga reader, with the Taisho era secret, I did not know that it was his sister's, like, Haori that he was borrowing to make the other half of it when she had died from the demons and hid him. So I thought that was really awesome to see, like, really where Giyu's pain comes from and how he probably related to Tanjiro a lot in that moment when he was on the mountain with him, because it's hard to see like lose loved ones, but when you have that same experience, you want people to succeed and you want people to go through with it and be like successful on top of it. So it was really cool.
I also did not know that about the red half of his Haori. I did know that the other half was Sabito's, but he's just carrying his loved ones around with him, which is sad and sweet.
Kind of really depressing when you think about it.
But on the note of him smiling, so cute. And actually, we did get a little bit of that in the flashback, too, and, like, seeing him younger. And he's not, like, that old right now. What is he, 18 now? 20? Okay, he's older than I thought. Old man.
21, so old.
So old. Knees are creaking, your back is aching. But also, like, literally aged by what he's gone through. It was nice to see him, like, so innocent and young. 13 in this flashback, and smiling and having fun with Sabito, which was sweet, and a nice nod to a character we haven't seen since episode 3, and like those motifs coming back, and like sound design from episode 3 that we hadn't seen since the last time we saw Sabito.
Yeah.
So that was all really cool, and we love seeing our emo boy smile. He can do it. He has teeth. Alright, so favorite moments from the episode? I can go first. I loved when Tanjiro first burst through the door. It was so funny. Mom, I threw up. He's like, Tomioka-san, 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 and like the one eye shifting open was just so funny. Like, I loved everything about all of that.
I love how he changed too. He went from calling him Tomioka-san halfway through and then changed to Giyu-san because he's like, okay, it's not working. I gotta call you by your given name now. But still with respect. Because Tanjiro's a good, respectful boy. That was kind of my moment, but I'll just say the montage of him stalking him. He's literally like doing things that are illegal.
Don't do anything illegal.
He's like sleeping inside his house without him knowing and just being like, oh hey, Uncle Simon.
Oh, I'm happy you ate the rice balls.
Yeah, it's so cute. It's so adorable, and it's like one of my favorite things about Tanjiro is just how unable he is to pick up on social cues. Very cute, but obviously Giyu's entire backstory was just so well done. UFO Table really hit it out of the park as expected. They love to do that with backstories, of course, but it was really, really cool to see Sabito do a water breathing form with Yuki Kaji saying a water breathing form, and just the whole thing. I was like, it's Eren Yeager saying Mizu no kokyu Shinokata.
That was really good. Listen, I hope we get more flashbacks with Sabito in it. Like, I know this was kind of it, but, like, come on, just, like, one more, please. But I think my favorite moment was actually Shinobu, when she had her eye twitching and she had, like, her face convulsing. Because, like, that's actually me when I'm upset and I'm, like, trying to keep it cool. She's, like...
Everyone in customer service.
Literally. It's so relatable.
All good moments. Not a ton necessarily that happened in this episode, but a lot that we learned about Giyu, and again, very well paced considering that this really took place over the course of like not even a full chapter. Yeah. So looking forward to next week's episode, hoping that the pacing continues in a similar fashion to what we've had so far. But there's one more thing we want to talk about. I'm going to throw a spoiler warning on here because we will be talking about the ending sequence and the foreshadowing that's happening for what's to come with the season and beyond. So if you have not read the manga, this might be a good time to go ahead and click pause and come back after you have, or like maybe after the season ends. We'd love to have you back for this episode, but we don't want to spoil anything. So give you a couple seconds here to do that. And now we'll start. So let's talk about that ending sequence. Incredible song, really, really interesting vocals, and of course we've got to talk about some of the visuals here.
It was very different. I was not expecting an ED song like that for Demon Slayer. It's very like Chainsaw Man vibes, honestly.
It was actually reminding me of Specials a bit.
Yeah.
Like at least
yeah.
Not exactly the quality of the song, but at the same time some of it kind of did, and definitely some of the visuals and the way that they like kind of panned across the screen.
I'd like to listen to the whole version of the song, which will come out on Spotify tomorrow, so I obviously will, but I don't know how much I love the song yet. There were a couple moments where the harmonies were really, really good, and harmonies always speak to me. But the visuals, man, I think that entire thing was foreshadowing because it's essentially following Muzan walking through things, and I kind of saw it as like there was one moment specifically where it almost just looked like he was either walking to or walking back from the Kamado house, which in the anime we've already established that he was the one who killed them, but a lot of people forget it because it was very kind of like briefly mentioned, essentially that just, well, only one demon can turn others into demons, so it was Muzan, that did it. It wasn't like why did he do that? And so to kind of see this almost foreshadowing of like him walking to that house, walking back, and then it goes straight to Tanjiro, and it starts with him like from season 1, episode 1, when he was like crying, he like is on his knees, he stands up, and in the rotating shot, he's now in his Slayer uniform taking out his sword. And it's just showing like that his arc is truly about to come full circle as well, in my opinion. But outside of that, just seeing Muzan walk through all these things, I saw a few people say that they think it was kind of depicting him like walking to Ubuyashiki's mansion. Like he's going through all these places to get to his final goal, really, and that is to annihilate the Demon Slayer Corps. And the Kamados was just part of that plan, essentially. Yeah. So I think that entire thing was just foreshadowing. The tree, I don't know. Was it foreshadowing?
I don't know what the tree meant, but I liked it. I like trees.
I like trees.
Trees.
Yeah, no, I thought it was very, at least the way I interpreted the walking, I felt like it was showing the Infinity Castle and in the Infinity Castle arc, because it looked so dark, it looked very like lit like the Infinity Castle, and it looked very like hallway-esque. I just felt that it was really showing that, and then the crows that were in there, the crow flying out of it, like I just felt that there was so much that like related to Infinity Castle right there, that it was very much so like a precursor to it. But time will only tell as to where, and we'll figure that out once the season ends. But I think really it's going to be a wild ride from here on out, so this moment of like peace that we can get, we should take.
There was one image that really stuck out to me, and I might need some help doing the math here, but there was like a footstep in the snow, and there were like these blood droplets in the snow, and only one that got like, or he stepped on something, and only one was left spared of these like red drops in the snow, whatever it was. And I think that there were a total of 6 of them, and 5 got crushed.
And then they show the Kamado residence right after
and
that.
And they show the Kamado residence.
Damn.
Mm-hmm. For those who don't know, Tanjiro has 5 siblings, so it kind of shows that, he was going there to get rid of the Kamado family, but essentially he missed one out of just a miscalculation, not knowing that he would be gone. And obviously Nezuko's alive, but she can still be considered like a victim because she got turned into a demon. So that's
really cool imagery, very specific, and it happened really fast.
Mm-hmm. And right before they showed their house. Damn.
Damn. The number 6 is significant a lot in the show, though, too.
Mm-hmm.
There's also like 6 upper and 6 lower moons.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of parallels in a lot of different places. There will probably be more that comes up as we keep going.
I think it depends on where the season ends.
Yeah.
We'll be able to kind of look back and be like, okay, the OP foreshadowed this, the ED foreshadowed this.
Yeah.
I would like to just mention the very stark contrast of the OP and the ED, because I feel like the OP, while it is softer, is still very like, woo, happy, train, yay, until the very like, maybe, we start getting into the Muzan and Ubuyashiki stuff, and then the very end is Tanjiro, like, going after him, but the ED is just straight up, like, horror anime.
It really is.
Oh,
and
man.
we love to see it. But definitely a little bit of a different turn for Demon Slayer, and I think we're going to continue down that trajectory, but we will see. All right. Well, another week, another episode. Looking forward to some more fresh content next week. And I think that's all that we have for today. So thank you so much again for tuning in to this episode of the Hashira Half Hour. If you enjoy what you've heard, please give us a download on Spotify. Give us an honest rating. Let us know what you're thinking. Drop us a comment. We are on all social channels at Hashira Half Hour, except for X. We're at Hashira Half on there. And we will look forward to seeing you next week. Until next time, umai!
Umai!
Umai!